This is Needy and Normal. Welcome. I'm your host, Ashley Levering, mom, wife, and life coach. After years of coaching and learning from my own life, one thing is clear. Meeting your needs is essential for living your best life. Here, we'll talk about your needs and not only learn to accept them, but also tend to them without guilt. Let's get needy because it's normal. Welcome back to the Needy and Normal podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you pushed play. It means the world to me, and I hope you pushing play means that this subject resonates and it's a topic that doesn't get old. This, in fact, is a replay of episode 22. This is episode 63, so it's been a while. Negative versus positive never gets old, and I really hope this is exactly what you needed today. Please enjoy the episode. I want to talk about the power of positivity, the power of optimism. Not fake optimism, not positivity when there are some things to face and deal with. There is a need for the negative and the darker side. There is, because without the dark, there is no light. But I want to talk about when you get locked in negative mode. I'm going to tell you a story. She won't mind. I have a very good friend I've known for over 20 years. We went to college together. We were roommates together. And she went through a phase in her life where everything was catastrophized. Everything had a worst case scenario. Everything had a dark side. Everything was worth worrying about. And it was so heavy and negative. And it wore me out, drained all my energy to a point where I kicked her out of the house. I said, you need to leave and go find enlightenment. And she did. She went to Thailand. You know who you are. Long story short, she's come a long way. But what happened was she was trapped in this negative mindset. And it's hard. It's hard on you. It's hard on the people around you. And do you know the scariest part is you may do this. You may not realize you're stuck there. And you know what? The people who are stuck in negativity might not be the ones listening. Maybe this is the podcast you send their way, delightfully and lightly suggesting, hey, you might love this episode. Because when you're stuck in negativity and pessimism, it really can steer. And you let it take control. I realized being around a large family over this past weekend, we went to the beach, family reunion. It was super fun, super fantastic. What I started to notice was the themes, because this is what I do. I basically study people for a living. I started to notice the people who were generally positive. And I started to notice the people who were generally negative. And what I concluded, I didn't realize I was doing my own little experiment, was at the end of the trip, the people who were generally positive had a really great time. And the people who were generally negative didn't have such a great time. Or if they did, there was an underlying or overlying theme of something negative that kind of soured their overall experience. And first of all, especially adults, we do it to ourselves. Nobody causes you to go to those negative spaces. Nobody shifts or molds or makes your attitude. You do. You're in charge of how you feel or react to your feelings. You're in charge of steering your own attitude always. Even when my kids rile me up, they didn't technically rile me up. I riled me up by letting what they did upset me. So this is that tale as old as time that we all seem to continuously forget. You are in charge of you. It is the one thing you can control. And when someone else upsets you and you say, oh, you upset me, it's actually a lie because you're letting them upset you. You're letting them get to you. Okay, so my point to set things up for this episode is, what are you allowing in? What doesn't belong there? What is not serving you? If it's causing you to be energetically drained, feeling negative, and having expectations that cause you to feel disappointment on the regular. What is happening in your life that is shifting your attitude towards pessimism versus shifting your perspective, aiming towards gratitude, listen to the last episode, and giving you optimism and positivity and allowing you not just to go to a lighter side, but to just choose how you want to feel about something. I've probably said this in a different episode, but I teach this to clients. It's a method that I personally use, that I teach. It always needs continuous practice, believe me. But here's how it goes. When something happens right in front of us, where someone says something to us and we're going to have a reaction to it, are we going to emotionally react or are we going to logically respond? Those are two very different ways to steer yourself, your mind, and your reactions. Emotional reactions are the outbursts, the ones that are not thought through. That's where anger and sadness and words we can't take back come out, right? Then on the other side, you have logical responding, which is when we pause and we really think about, how do I really feel about this? What do I really think about this? And then carefully and thoughtfully respond. So you're not exploding. You're not going straight to a trigger. You are being more in control. So it's this emotional reaction versus logical response. 9 times out of 10, the logical response is the way to go. Even though your feelings matter, even though they deserve to be visited with, the logical response typically wins. Because you can even sit there with your emotions. You can logically analyze your own emotions. So I'll give you an example. If my kid says, "shut up" to me, however, it has happened a couple of times, my immediate reaction is emotional. I'm immediately offended. I'm immediately mad. I'm immediately ashamed and embarrassed that I have a child that would do that. Those are quick emotional reactive thoughts, right? And of course, they're emotional reactive actions. The first time it happened, I yelled. I got mad. And I didn't pause. There was no breath between the words coming out of my son's mouth and the words coming out of my mouth. That is an emotional reaction. So on the flip side, when it happened again, I think he thought he was kidding and he knew it wasn't cool, but he said it. But still, you can't say that. Come on. But I paused. I took a breath, which is big. And I thought logically how I wanted to respond. And I went silent. And he looked at me funny because I am never short on words, obviously. But I thought about this logically. I thought, if I react to him immediately, then he's gotten what he wants out of me, which is a reaction. And also, I lose control. Ugh. So I thought, if I am quiet, maybe he'll do the right thing because he knows that that's not okay. And so then I allow him to play a part in the situation. I allow him to respond to me as well. So I was quiet. I took a breath and I literally put my hand over my mouth and he goes, "Sorry, Mom." And the moment was over. See the difference? Before, when I was emotionally reactive, we had a big ass fight. That time, I just simply walked away and we moved on. When we live in the emotionally reactive place, or it happens more and more and more, and it just starts to stack up on top of each other, we're also living in a negative space, a negative headspace. Our mind is not in the right place. We are not tending to ourselves. That's what this is about, right? At the end of the day, if you are allowing negativity to steer and emotional reactivity to steer, you are not in control and you're doing yourself a disservice. There is something you're lacking, something you're missing, something that your body and your mind need that you have neglected. Now, just for the sake of me being a coach, just think for 1 minute. What is happening in your life that you continuously react to, that feels like it's constantly a disappointment, that you're just thinking, "Oh, not again," or "here we go," or someone who they could maybe at this point say anything and you'd react. Now, how do you regain that control? Goes all the way back to basic needs. I promise you. For me, and I know I'm a broken record, but I know I'm going to be more reactive if I don't have enough sleep, if I haven't had a proper meal, if I hadn't worked out, if I hadn't gotten essential priorities on my checklist done. If I'm not taking care of the me things, I'm going to not react well to the outside of me things. I'm trying to protect my inner peace. I'm lousy at it when I don't take care of my personal needs, my priorities. So if you're having one of those times in your life where you are being the negative person, get curious. Who do you have to have a conversation with? What do you need to do to your daily routine? What is missing from your life? What change do you need to make? Because when you're living in negativity, there is so much more to the story than it becoming a habit. And it does become a habit. So this family vacation I was on, I love my family. They're all amazing. They all have just dynamic, wonderful personalities and things to say. And this is my dad's side. There's like 26 of us that went on this vacation. I could tell the difference so very much. Who was having a great time and who wasn't. And even I had a moment here and there where I would slip into the negativity. I didn't have the most ideal sleeping situation, and neither did my kids. I wasn't super comfortable. I also didn't play a role in the planning, so I came to terms with it and accepted it pretty quickly. But it was also easy for me to dip back into that when, I felt like I didn't have privacy because I was sleeping in a hallway, or if I felt like I didn't get enough sleep that morning, or my kids couldn't get to the bathroom, which they had to share with someone inside their room. It was just awkward. So, and I could feel that, right? But when I would pause and try to logically respond and kind of pick my battles internally, right? To protect your inner peace, you have to think about what kind of battles are happening inside, because this is how negativity and pessimism and disappointment conjures up, right? So when I really, sat with myself and had those thoughts, I thought, you know what? Let me think of all the good stuff. The gratitude. Gratitude is so, 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 so helpful. And let me think about how to logically respond to this. Complaining is only going to hurt my own experience. Being upset is only going to hurt my own experience. Being negative would also impact and affect my children. So I tried not to do that. I tried to make the most of it. And, other parts of the vacation, we had 3 houses spread out. There were people with a fantastic sleeping arrangement who weren't happy about something, this or that, and they were emotionally reacting to typical conflict and family drama. And, at the end of the day, their vacation just wasn't quite as fun. And they felt kind of soured by it, and it made me sad. And I thought, if people were more aware of how they were reacting or responding to certain situations, and then learning how to protect their inner peace, pick their battles, and turn a page back over to the managing your expectations differently to be more positive and be more optimistic, it would be life-changing. And we need that. We need to fill our bodies and our minds with as much joy and positivity as possible, because let's be honest, we're more prone as a human race to steer towards negativity. Look at the world we live in. This is a hard, hard world, and people are very sad and angry out there who will drag us down if we let them. You are always in control of yourself. You are always in control of how you feel and respond. You are always in control of what you say or don't say. You are always in control of who you give your energy to and who you conserve your energy for, which hopefully is for yourself. Where attention goes, energy flows. So this is classic example of how you can lean towards the negative. If you put energy towards negative, drama, conflict, sad stuff, especially if it's not yours to tend to, it will pull you in. And on the flip side, if you push your energy towards something that brings you joy, that helps you shift your perspective, that helps you find gratitude and puts you in more of a positive mood, that helps you take a breath and pause in order to logically respond rather than emotionally react to a situation or a person, you're going to be better off. It doesn't mean you're ignoring things that ruffle your feathers. It's just you're choosing what to do when your feathers are ruffled and whether or not it's worth your energy. I could have bitched and moaned and complained the whole time about my setup, but I didn't. I had a couple of moments where I shared my thoughts, but I also thought in like a logical way. And also I made sure to use my boundaries at the end. I wasn't going to make a fuss of it the whole time, but at the end I thought, you know what? I'm going to let the people know who need to know that this is not okay and I don't want to do this again. So even though I made the best of it and my kids made the best of it and we had such a good vacation, I could have been so sad and pissy about it, and I wasn't. I made the best of it, and it was fine. What I remember is being on the beach and watching everyone have fun together. And I also am one of those people who pauses and stares at my situation often, where I really soak up and find appreciation. It could be in the middle of breakfast. It could be at the beach. It could be when there's literal chaos and everyone's talking during dinner. I don't even care. It's like amazing to me. I just love it. I love just sitting back and watching what's happening. So my memories are so super positive. So at the end of the trip, those who had set up the accommodations, which by the way, they did amazing, but it wasn't ideal for me. And I made sure to voice that in a very, matter of fact, but kind way, that this wasn't appropriate for me and my kids. And next time we do this as a family, this kind of situation will not work for me. I didn't have to be mean about it, and I didn't have to get all fussy and riled up about it because I chose my attitude. I chose to stay positive. And it is so, so helpful. I needed that. I don't even want to know what this vacation might have felt for me if I had gone deeply into the negative side. And it's easy to do that during any time of your life, right? Where if something's not going great, or if the job is especially taxing, or you have longer hours than you expected. I got trapped in the solo mom not asking for help, which I've talked about, situation where I got real negative and I got real sad, and I was emotionally reactive the whole time. It was just unhealthy for me and unhealthy for those around me. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking, oh shit, like maybe I do this more than I think, let this be your call to awareness. Your call to action is, hey, let's pay attention to when I'm emotionally reacting versus logically responding. Let's bring awareness to and notice when negativity has a hold of you. A lot of this has to do with acceptance, right? Is if you are going to allow positivity to lead over negativity, you have to allow for that. You have to accept it. You have to shift into that. And I know it's not easy. But that's why this isn't about overachieving. This isn't about fixing behaviors or mindsets immediately. It's about just bringing awareness to it first. And then build on that. And then you can continue to notice. I promise you, the people who this was affecting on this trip, if they had just paused and thought, what am I doing to my own inner peace, and what am I doing to my own experience on this vacation, and decided that they get to enjoy it and have a better attitude regardless of what they're not in control of, they would have been so much happier. And I get frustrated for them when I see that, because in my head, I'm not going around telling people how to live their lives and what to do. I offer advice and guidance if it's asked for. Otherwise, I kind of keep my mouth shut. I'm just a human like everybody else, even though I have seen and understand a lot about the human experience based on my coaching and my experience working with different clients. It matters. You absolutely need more positivity than you need reactive negativity. So I leave you with this. Start noticing. When you're leaning into a negative situation, or you're allowing a negative person to infiltrate and steer you towards negative, maybe just take a little pause and decide, am I going to emotionally react, or am I going to be more in control of my inner peace and my energy and logically respond and try and stay on the positive side? And let me know how it goes. I love hearing if people try the little takeaways here in these episodes, and if it works, great. I want to know. And I may sound overconfident, but if you consistently, even for like 3 days, notice when you're slipping into a negative mindset versus conserving your energy for a positive one, just see what happens. See how it works. And, which I did mention, think about the basics. What basic needs? Food, shelter, water, sleep, exercise. Think about the basics. What has happened more often or not happened lately that may lend itself to you getting into that place where you're easily emotionally reactive or easily just disappointed and negative? So there's two parts to this. Notice if you're missing something essential. Go back and listen to the basic needs episode if you need a little reminder. And notice when you're slipping into a negative mindset. Now, I am full of tricks and tools and encouragement for these kinds of things, besides the one I gave you about emotional reactivity and logical responding. And if you'd like to do coaching, I'd love to work with you. So I leave you here. Your needs matter because you matter. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Needy and Normal podcast. If you liked this episode, share it generously. I would so appreciate it if you would take a quick moment to leave me a review and click that subscribe button so you won't miss an episode. For information about coaching together, visit ablifecoaching.com.